Hello, world, and welcome to Creating Light with Kelsey. I am so excited about this episode because it is quite the inception episode. And what I mean by that is, for the majority of this, you're going to be listening to an old episode I released in 2021, that which was, almost 3 years ago now. Okay. Yeah, because we're about to enter 2024. Time is an illusion. But yes, some of you may already know, but for those of you who do not, Creating Light with Kelsey podcast was around since 2021. At the beginning, I was busting out 2 episodes a week regularly. That lasted for a while, and then it started to dwindle. Then by the end of 2021, something like that, I decided to take a break and regroup because I was feeling shifts within and how I was meant to deliver messages was changing. So then I took everything down because as I was listening to it, a lot of this stuff was actually more trauma story related versus healing story related. And that has since taken a major internal shift inside. So I've taken a lot of them down, but some of them still provide a lot of value. Not all of them were of that previous frequency. And then I came back at the very end of 2022, but not as regularly. And then I have been regular in 2023 since May or June or something like that. And now we're in December. So, yay for the journey. But if you've been listening again into my healing story versus my trauma story, and I'm retelling the evolution of who Kelsey was and who she is today, last week's episode talked about how darkness was ruling my life most of 2018. That I faced my darkness in 2017, but I didn't feel it. And so there's a difference. There's a progression. Like, you face it. Just because you face your shit doesn't mean that you actually feel it. You can still keep running from it. And that's the struggle with a lot of society today. We are so intellectualized and we know about our trauma and we know where it came from and we know the programming and we know that we have mommy issues and daddy issues, but it's still stuck in our body. And that's the fucking problem. You can have all of this knowledge of the self, but it really doesn't mean shit until you feel through it and let it go and let it pass through you and welcome to feel it again and let it go again. And you keep going and going and going. And that's how you're not imprisoned by your darkness. And somatic activated healing helps you do such things. But 2018, I didn't know that shit. So it ruled me. And that's when darkness was showing me, if you do not feel this and you keep running from it, this is how your life is going to look. This is how it will manifest. Your shadows, your darkness, your trauma is ruling your life and how you're showing up, because what you're doing is a result of running away from feeling it, which was the substances, disordered eating, being in a hurtful relationship, constantly on screens or binge watching Netflix, anything to escape the feelings that were trying to be there. And then that's what became my life. My life became running from the darkness versus fully living in my truth and who I came here to be and existing and being present and just fucking enjoying life. That's not available to you if all you're doing is running away from yourself. So, end of 2018, I had started my spirituality and art therapy class, and that is when my spiritual awakening happened. And this is what this episode talks about that. And it really breaks it down so much better than what I am able to do right now and brings in awesome spiritual insight. And it's so cool to listen back to it to realize, like, wow, like we unlocked a lot of shit. And this is so that this is also why it feels like an inception, because right now you're listening to present day Kelsey talk in 2023. But then in a few moments, you're going to be listening to past Kelsey talk, which was 2021. And past Kelsey was talking about past Kelsey back in 2018. mind fuckery, and I love it. Like that whole meme is so true of all of our memories are just us watching us. And even in this moment, there's a future us watching us. And it's like, yeah, it's fucking wild, man. Some things that I would like to bring up to your awareness now to have at the forefront of your mind while you're listening to past Kelsey, and that there are differences in evolution and differences of becoming awakened to things and knowing things versus embodying the wisdom of such things. 2021 Kelsey was awakened to this shit and was starting to really embody it. 2018 Kelsey was just awakened, zero embodiment yet. 2023 Kelsey now sees where 2021 Kelsey was not fully embodied on some things that she was talking about because she talked about some profound shit. It shocked me listening back to that. I was like, damn, what a wise woman. But some of the things, some of that wisdom wasn't fully integrated yet because her exterior reality was not fully reflecting the things that she knows, that she knew and that she was speaking on. But she knew that. It wasn't like she was claiming that she was acting as if when she wasn't, you know? There was still integrity there. But you know when it's integrated when stuff has changed. Because in 2021, when I was recording that episode, I was still living with my ex-husband. At that point, we were separated and working on full separation and getting divorce and things in order. But I was still existing in the reality where we were still sharing a home, which was still a hurtful reality to be existing in. And so, what I was speaking about in this episode was things that I was striving my damnedest to walk the walk. And then now I'm speaking to you in 2023, fully divorced and living life for me and not bound by a lot of these fucking constructs of trauma and society and that past hurtful relationship. Truly have broken free from that. And so now I can speak to you and say, hey, this shit fucking works when you commit yourself to freedom, to diving into the depths of your being, detangling all the bullshit, feeling it, letting it go, trusting the process. It fucking works. But you have to believe in yourself, you know? Like, I just got hit with a wave of emotion and gratitude of what all I've accomplished and the commitment to myself and to my vision, to my truth, to healing, to not being imprisoned by darkness. And I'm truly living my purpose in the life that I want to live. And I'm not bound by anything else of or any structure of telling me what I should do or how I am supposed to live. I show up and I decide. And I created that freedom for myself. And it took devotion to get here. And it took a lot of surrendering to the unknown and to the divine and listening to the divine and my own intuition and trusting that and taking the leap and moving forward, knowing that each move was putting me onto the path of alignment and knowing that each time of facing and feeling my darkness is bringing me back home to myself. And all of it is working together to provide me a life of internal freedom. In 2021, Kelsey, from this episode, she was working so hard and and so diligently, and she did not give up, and she trusted that she could pull herself out of it, and she did. And even 2018 Kelsey of 2021 Kelsey talking about 2018 Kelsey from that episode. I mean, that was my first awakening, and this probably will be a two-part episode because it was a really big, huge, like 4 month period of that awakening unraveling, because that's when for the first time I owned my trauma. I accepted my trauma. I looked at it and I held it and accepted that this was a part of my journey and this is a part of me. But it doesn't have to stay like that either. I can help it and I can guide it and I can transmute it, but it we can't do that until we own it first. And that was the biggest revelation that came at the end of 2018 was like, if I don't accept the suffering and trauma that I've endured, I can't ever let it go. And that was actually part of the project in spirituality in our therapy was a project called Bearing Gifts to the Feast. And it was the whole concept of owning our suffering so we can give it away. Wow. So I guess this is a damn good intro, and I will leave it at that. I'll let you listen to the episode, then I'll come back on and close it. What a fucking journey. I hope you enjoy the Inception wormhole right now. Okay, here's the episode. Hello, world, and welcome back to Creating Light with Kelsey. Today I'm going to share the beginning of my spiritual awakening, which started when I was in grad school. It was the fall semester of 2018. I had started the spirituality course for art therapy. It literally changed my life. I didn't realize it then, but I had begun the path of remembering who I am. During residency, the professor introduced the students to the concept that spirituality can be separate from religion. That statement alone blew my mind, like so much so that I couldn't fully comprehend the idea of it. I just kept thinking, what do you mean? Spirituality is religion, right? Then she had us introduce ourselves in the class and then kind of explain what spirituality meant to us or a little background with it. And that's when I realized I wasn't alone in thinking that concept, that I didn't realize that they could be separate entities from religion. Because everyone was just going around explaining their religious upbringing. Like, no one even talked about spirituality, they just talked about religion. And I do remember that specific day at residency, I was wearing a shirt that said nope. And then the whole like, oh, let's go around and introduce yourself. She looks at me and she's like, well, her shirt says nope, so let's not start with her. Let's start with someone else. And everyone just started laughing. I was like, yep, okay, good. But anyway, I was not the only one confused by that concept because everyone just talked about their Christian upbringing, basically. I'm pretty damn sure there's probably like 95% of the people in there said that their upbringing was in Christian, but then a lot of them were like, I'm questioning now. I want to, figure out for myself, and I know that there's more out there and just more to learn and explore. Although I didn't understand that spirituality it can be separate from religion, some part of me deep inside finally felt seen. I started to question for myself what spirituality meant to me, which led to me viewing spirituality in the sense that it's whatever feeds your soul and makes you feel whole. That you can be fed from a higher power, but it also comes from our own actions. And I kind of came to that discovery just in the first assignment alone in spirituality. And I don't know about you, but the type of Christianity I was brought up in believed in this sense of wholeness was outside of me. I was taught that I was inherently sinful, which meant I was broken. And then in order to fix that brokenness, I needed to search for Jesus, and only through him would I be whole. Well, what if I told you that Jesus, or whatever entity that you believe in, is already within you? That there is no separation, we were never broken, we just get to tune in and listen to our hearts. I don't have to, quote unquote, let Jesus in because he's already been within. He never left. By choosing to listen to our hearts and not outside factors or sources is a main contributing factor to feeling whole. That the choice is up to us because we still have free will, but no matter what we choose, we're already enough. I mean, that concept of thought alone took me years to understand, but the spirituality course kickstarted it all, and I started to truly believe that I had the power to feel fulfilled, that I was in control of my reality, and it wasn't dependent on whenever I happened to find Jesus. And I see a lot of similarities with spirituality and Christianity. I believe that they really tie into each other, almost like it's all one, wink wink. But if just the construct of religion was removed from Christianity, then in my opinion, well, I guess the rules of all religion, if they were removed from every denomination, all we would be left with is spirituality. Then we would realize that we're not separate, we're one. Then because of the assignments given in spirituality, I began to question the shoulds of society as well. I was becoming aware that I had been building my life and following a path based on people's opinions and following the shoulds of society. And I realized that that's a form of people-pleasing, and I'm actually neglecting my own true desires if I'm out here searching to fulfill the shoulds, or what should I be doing in life? That's then the answer. It's like, no, let's look inside, and what is my answer? I know what's truly best for me in my life and the way I live. But at the time, I was battling that belief within. I was 25 years old then. I was battling that I should be successful by now. I should have financial stability. I should be married. I should be thinking about children, etc., etc. That basically I was becoming woke to the fact that I was living a life like it was just one big to-do list instead of actually living. And I love the saying, stop shoulding all over yourself. And it was really during the fall semester of 2018 that I began to embody that phrase, understanding that it's not my job to make other people happy, and if I'm not hurting myself or anyone, then the way I live my life should not matter to other people. And if I'm making a mistake, it's my mistake to make. It's a lesson that I chose anyway. And it could, most of the time, it ends up to being for your greater good and a lesson that you needed to ascend anyway. But yeah, that semester was a liberating yet dark time. And the deconditioning process had officially taken place, but I am so grateful that it did. I would like to take you through some of the spirituality assignments that I completed, and it's interesting for me to look back on it now because I get to truly see that this is where the beginning of the shift of my mindset taken place, and that these were multiple seeds being planted, and I allowed them to grow. And this was because I still truly believe some of this stuff today that I was saying when I was really discovering what the heck spirituality is and what that means to me, and the meaning of life, and beginning to go there. So on this first paper, we had to do it in reflection of residency, and then also kind of what spirituality is to us, but then how it relates to metaphor, imagination, and creativity. This was the paper where I'd mentioned the idea earlier in the episode saying how I was currently trying to understand spirituality in the sense that it is whatever feeds your soul and makes you feel whole. Look at that. That just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? But I was realizing that this main source of fulfillment can come from a higher power, but it is also within our own actions. That we can believe in something and have connections to a higher power, but it's through the act of doing is what really feeds our spirit. That spirituality, a sense of connection, a sense of purpose, fulfillment, it can be a seed, but the seed has to be planted beneath the earth, and then it has to receive adequate amounts of water, enough sunlight, and be protected from severe weather or perpetrators in order to grow to its full potential. And that's where we're in control, and that's the action steps to keep us growing and existing. And just rereading that now from my paper, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I agree with that. I still get down with that today. And I think that's where the concept of self-care came into play for me. I finally started to get it. It was clicking. Because as I was sharing earlier in the other episodes, that I had these realizations about my trauma and that I was starting to feel the effects of it, but I didn't know how to care for myself. I didn't know what to do with that information. And then here I was finally realizing, oh, what fills me up? What fills my soul? And it goes it goes further than what just makes you happy. What fills you up to your core. Okay, so then this next paper, it was a reflection about one of Bruce Moon's books, Existential Art Therapy, The Canvas Mirror, and this quote from the book that I have written down in here, I was like, oh, this is good. So he says, you have to express your feelings or your feelings will express you. Yep. I was realizing that too when reflecting on this paper and becoming even more aware. I wasn't expressing my feelings or my trauma consistently when it was coming up. And then my feelings were expressing me, and I would be depressed and spiral into all these destructive habits and be just stuck in a deep depression every time I wasn't expressing myself and allowing myself to work through it. So yeah, it was the beginning of this class that I realized this isn't going anywhere. So that's a good one. I love that quote looking back at it now. You have to express your feelings or your feelings will express you. Good old Bruce Moon. Then this next paper was in reflection to an assignment that came from a book we had to do, and the book was from my professor. She had wrote the book, Art of the Earth, Ancient Arts for a Green Future, from Liza Hyatt. And I'm just going to read the paper because it's only a little over a page long. One of the journal exercises instructed me to reflect on what it was like to play as a child and asked me when was the last time I participated in play. One aspect of play that I loved as a child but realized I no longer participated in was playing in the rain and climbing trees. I do miss doing this and never stop to think that I don't do this anymore. I let myself be too concerned with getting dirty, getting my clothes wet, or having to change or clean up in some way afterwards. As a child, all of those factors never stopped me before, but I had been culturally conditioned to believe that these are now negative. There were 2 different leisure meditations involving play that I participated in. I took a friend with me, encouraging them to also participate, but they could not get themselves to do it, which I found perplexing. It seemed that they were stuck in the cultural adult pressures, that they did not want to lay in the grass because it was wet, and their clothes, which could easily be washed, would get dirty. As I laid in the grass, I began the breathing while focusing on the sensations in my body. I noticed that the blood pulsing through my legs, the weight of my back pressing into the ground, the warm sun on my face, and the dew seeping into my clothes. I felt completely relaxed, and the more relaxed I felt, the slower my breathing became. Then I began thinking of all the shoulds from society. A 25-year-old should be successful by now. Financial stability for a college graduate should be easy. You should be thinking about children by now, etc. While focusing on my breathing, I told myself, you have your own path. You know this is the right path no matter how long it takes. Your journey on this path does provide fulfillment, and you are doing just fine. Then I shifted my focus to remembering what it was like when I was 10 years old. Before I was 10, I lived in a small town where I grew up with multiple children on the block, and we would always play together. That childlike spirit still is inside me, and I have just gotten really good at suppressing it. Without overthinking, I began just to do things for no purpose. Play. While outside, I began doing handstands and cartwheels, and I still have the urge to do those things at times, but normally I resist the urge. It felt freeing to give into these childlike urges. For the moment, I forgot the social pressures of worrying about what others would think of my actions. Okay, so that was the end of that paper. I had a little bit more, but it talked about a different meditation thing that I did. But man, that's pretty cool looking back on my reflection of that assignment that I had to do. I do remember that, and I remember I brought that friend because I felt too shameful to do it by myself. Because I was worried about doing these things in public. Like, I mean, we were at a park, but whatever. Like, oh, I'm going to be laying in the grass, and I'm going to be, like, frolicking around and doing cartwheels and climbing trees. And, like, what are people going to think of me? Because I'm an adult doing these things, and adults shouldn't do those things anymore. Like, what? Like, adults can't have fun anymore? We can't play? Like, oh no, the only thing that adults can do now that's fun is going out and drinking. Okay, yeah, so I was just like, wow, what is play? Like, I didn't even know what play was anymore, because that was just not allowed after you get to a certain age. Like, what is that? What is life? Social conditioning right there. And it's just interesting. That also makes me think of, at the top of my head, I don't remember his name, but I can put it in the show notes. He says, the opposite of play is not rest, it's depression. Like, let's just sit with that for a second. It's so true, though. If we're not taking time out of our day to do things that are fun and fill us up and don't have any purpose other than we just enjoy doing it, we're always going to be drained. We're always going to be giving, and our cup will just be empty. And then what? Well, we're going to feel pretty fucking depressed. I have one more paper I'd like to go over. There was more that happened in this class. There were so many layers to what woke me up, and each assignment was truly a piece of the puzzle that got me to where I was, and then and fully accepting my trauma as well. But I'll go into that later, so then I'm just going to share this last paper for now. So this assignment was in response to Waller and Sibbitt's book, which was Art Therapy and Cancer Care. And they talked about the concept of liminality and the 4 rites of passage. So that's interesting. I didn't realize that I forgot that this was a book and not just an article, and I'm totally going to buy this book. But the rites of passage are described by 4 different types of liminality, and that liminality is defined as the discovery and transformation of the soul. I had wrote that before any transformation can occur within, one must learn how to become more in tune with their spirituality. I am learning that being in tune with my spirituality means listening to what my soul needs to feel alive, fulfilled, and at peace. What am I doing with the remaining time of my time outside of work and school? Goals and ambition is important, but even with pursuing those types of things, there can be a lingering emptiness because spirituality runs much deeper than that. If I don't know what feeds my soul to consistently live a wholesome life, then how can I help future clients to that point? It is a constant, ever-changing journey, but as long as an art therapist is persistent in the spiritual practices, they will not lose touch with the process of liminality. Ooh, that's some good stuff already. I'm just at the beginning. That I had already understood deeply. It seems like that. I mean, I had just said it. This is an ever evolving journey. And I've been saying that from the beginning of this podcast. And if you know me, I fucking say that all the time that it's ever evolving. New level, new devil. It's never ending. And as long as we're just, we're here for it and we're just consistently doing the work, we will always be in tune with ourselves. And even if it doesn't feel like we're in tune with ourselves when we are doing the work, we're really never that far out of reach. So then I wrote that there are 4 characteristics that define liminality, and that these include limbo, powerlessness, playing, and communion. Limbo is best comprehended as the unknown, and the unknown in spirituality can be viewed as when a person is recognizing that something is missing. They don't know what, but they do know, and they don't know how to fill the void. Being naive to a problem is not scary until we become aware that we are naive. Oh, holy shit. And that was not a quote anyway. Like, I did not cite that thing. So I had wrote, being naive to a problem is not scary until we become aware that we are naive. Like, holy shit. And then I feel like when you do become aware, that's when an ego death comes into play, or a little bit of an existential crisis. You're kind of like, what is this? What is the meaning of life? Like, what am I doing with my life? I have no meaning. What is happening? Because you then realize, you wake up to the fact that you have been living a mundane life. You have been choosing to just go through life day by day, not really thinking, following the shoulds of society, and not tuning into yourself and listening to what your soul needs and living through that. Because living life not connected to our soul, to our spirit, it can be essentially meaningless, and then that's where the void comes in, and then people are always searching outside of themselves to fill this void when the tools are already within, people. But that's why I'm here on this podcast, is to talk about this and start the conversation and help you all get the tools if you don't already have them. There's more that goes on into this paper, but it really does talk more so about the liminality aspect when it comes to art therapy, and then the art therapist and client dynamic, not necessarily just the concept of liminality as a whole. But that's intriguing. It makes sense, and I know I haven't read about that since then, but I'd love to read more about the concept of just that, so I can then bring it to the podcast again and have a further, more deeper conversation about it and really break down those 4 aspects of liminality. But there you have it. This was the beginning of my spiritual awakening through the assignments of this class. And like I said, I'm going to continue to break it down because I learned so much, and so much was revealed to me in this class, especially my final paper and project and presentation. I can't wait to actually dive into that for you. But this was the beginning of me actually implementing self-care and starting to sit with the trauma and work through it instead of just constantly avoiding it like I had been for a year. So at this point, it had been a year since that first residency. So then it took that long for me to realize, like, okay, I gotta, what do I want to do now? Because it's not getting better. It's not going away. So how do I do this? And then this class helped me figure out how to work with myself. But thank you for listening to the beginning of my spiritual awakening, and stay tuned as I continue to dive into that, and then really starting to talk about the concept of accepting our suffering. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the present moment of 2023. So some key points that I wanted to just land again from the episode, because I had written it down, written English words, grammar. When I listened it to, wow, we're excited. This is what this is. This happens sometimes when I get excited, and then my mind is going faster than I can speak. But I had written points down when I went back and listened to the episode again, and I would like to just reiterate and land that for you all of when past Kelsey had said, what fills you up in your core and what makes your soul feel whole. That was starting to click for me. That really was. And I would say that that's what is clicking now. And at some points, I think I even talked about it's like 2018, Kelsey. I was thinking that it was about what makes your soul feel happy. And I will just land right now. The evolution of that is it's more of the whole versus the happy. So doing what fills you up to make your soul feel whole, because healing goes beyond doing what makes us feel happy. Because that's doing what makes us feel good. That lands us back into self-development versus healing. But it was starting to integrate and click that I had the power to feel whole, that it was not outside of me, it was within me. And that was the game changer of like, oh, even though I have experienced trauma, it is on me to feel whole. Because I for sure used to think that because of my trauma, that the abusers had pieces of me that I would never be able to retrieve. And through my awakening, through diving into my soul, the depths of my soul, I had realized that's where the pieces from the trauma resided. They didn't reside with the abusers, they didn't reside with past experiences, they resided within me. And I had just shut it off. And that's how it becomes a shadow. And when I turn back around to face it and to shine light on it, which is a part of the healing journey, that's the journey is figuring out how to get down there, how to find them, how to shine light on them, and reintegrate it back into your being, which is the entire concept of my healing container, by the way. The 8-month healing container guides you through that. But that is how we regain the power. So we're descending into the soul, into the depths, facing the selves, seeing the parts that were actually never lost or broken. We just hid them as a result of trauma. And then now we are retrieving them and integrating them back into our soul to feel whole. And we have the power to do that because it was never lost. Those parts were never lost. And that was the perspective shift that I realized like, oh, no one else has my power. I do. I just have to find it and get it and integrate it. Holy shit. That was a major mic drop moment that I just unloaded on you. The next point, the next point that I would like to land from 2021, Kelsey, that she said, um, she was questioning, if I don't know what feeds my soul to live a consistent, wholesome life, how can I help future clients get there? Love that. That is like a core value of mine, has been obviously for a while, that me as a guide and practitioner, teacher, whatever label you decide to identify me with, we don't know. It changes a lot. But I do not come on here and I do not speak about things unless I'm also on the path. Sometimes I speak about stuff while I'm in the midst of integrating and it hasn't fully integrated yet, but I am on the path. And that's the point. And that's what keeps me in integrity of knowing like if I'm not doing this, I can't guide anybody, like period. But reminder, not every practitioner is like that. So my loves, use your own discernment of when you choose to hire people and choose to work with people and pick a mentor, whatever. Tune in. Tune into your body and ask your intuition on the guidance that you're receiving from this person. Is this person also on the path? Does this person face themselves and feel their feelings and walk the walk as a practitioner? Or do they run from their darkness? Are they in a hierarchy of ascension versus descension and that they are above certain things because they have ascended enough that they don't ever experience stuff anymore? Um, yeah, that's a whole thing. But it's real. And these people cause harm. Some of them know it, some of them don't. But that's why you have to trust yourself on who you choose to pick to guide you. And then the next point, this is just like a little zinger that I want to like I want to start bringing back into my own vocabulary again because I used to say it all the fucking time. New level, new devil. I have no idea if I made that up. No one has corrected me. Every time I say it, people are like, I like that saying. I've never heard that before, but that's so true. I love it. So maybe I made it up. If I didn't, someone please bring it to my awareness so I can Yep, we know how to speak. So I can properly give credit to who created that quote because it's fucking genius. New level, new devil. Healing a journey is ever evolving. And that's what I was getting at on like when I during my first spiritual awakening was like, holy shit, what is this spiral situation going on? And understanding that every time I know myself a little deeper, there's a new devil to face. And even if it's the same issue, but if we go a little bit deeper on that issue, there's a new devil. They're just waiting for us to say hello and to receive love so it can be transmuted. But yeah, let's bring that back. New level, new devil. And I know I already brought it up at the beginning of the episode, but I'm just going to say it again. The entirety of this episode shows you the difference between knowledge and wisdom and in process integration and full integration. So 2018 Kelsey had knowledge. She was awake to the knowledge and the potential and all the change that could take place. And she was awake to herself and her trauma and her soul. Then 2021 Kelsey, a couple of years later afterwards, was integrating that knowledge. It took time. It took time to integrate that knowledge and to integrate the trauma that she was now feeling and the wisdom that the trauma is there to give us because we all have it. That's the fucked up reality we live in of the 3D world that we all experience trauma and it's all there to teach us. That's the thing we signed up for as humans. So you can play the game or be in suffering of it your entire life. Yeah. That was a harsh truth, but it's real because you have the power to choose at this point afterwards. But anyway, 2021 Kelsey was integrating that because she was diligently devoted to feeling it all. But and she was on the path of integrating, and a lot of it was integrating because she was in motion of shifting her entire reality by choosing to get divorced and leaving that trauma relationship. But it wasn't fully integrated yet, that phase of existing and healing, because I was still living with my partner at the time. And that's the thing of the 3D reality will reflect back to you of what is integrated on the inside of your healing. So now 2023 Kelsey is standing in front of you, and for that existence of that layer facing and feeling of pain and trauma is fully integrated because I've been living on my own now for years, and the divorce has been final for 2 years now. And my reality is one where I get to fully choose how I want to exist in my daily life. Like I have that full freedom, and it's because I work so hard to transmute anything, any darkness that was preventing me to do such things that needed my love and compassion so it could step aside and allow my fullest expression of self to come forward, that allow my soul's next level of alignment to fucking be here. And like I've wanted this life and this level of existence for so long. And I know um the last 10% of it is about to fully integrate pending on how I choose to show up these next 7 weeks. And so I'm excited to share that. Um, but yeah, with how I'm existing now is people in my orbit. All relationships are that of kindness and love and emotional support and no projection of trauma, because that was the main thing that I was integrating, because there was parts of self within me that were not fully faced, and then I was experiencing and allowing hurt to come onto me by allowing people's trauma to get projected onto me, which was evident when I was still living with the ex and not quite out of that situation yet. And now I also exist in a reality of fun and joy. And I'm so grateful to have found to tap back into that and allow myself to tap back into that. And that's with getting involved in the agro community and going to those classes like that. That's something like just for me and just for fun, and but it's something I go to like to at least 2 times a week or something. And I'm building community and all these connections are available to me now that were not available to me when I was in the depths of it and when I was avoiding myself, because I didn't have the space. I didn't have the space to maintain them and hold them and actually receive. And now there's an abundance of them. And then just the freedom of my days, like I work for myself and I trust the divine to provide me income. Like I'm very much in a spot now where I tune in and I listen to how I am meant to show up as a guide. And then I create the offerings and then I am there consistently. And then I trust for the divine to provide me the soulmate, like energetic exchanges, the soulmate students, which I guess I've been calling my people students now versus clients. And that's the shift. But that what I put out and my offerings that I put out into the world is from something greater from me and from me tuning in to how I'm meant to show up and give. And when I do that, I receive. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know how much, and that's the trust and the surrender. And it's because I intentionally have created my life to do that because of all the work I've done in integrating my soul into my human self, into this 3D reality, and being able to show up as that. And just the level of self-love that is here now. Because if you're a survivor of severe, complex trauma, there's, in my experience anyway, and what I've witnessed as a practitioner to be like a collective truth, there's a deep seed of self-hate that gets planted and it blooms as self-sabotage and it fucking sucks. And so then it's our journey and our duty to find it and uproot it and show it and just give it a different way of existing, compost that and use that soil as fertilizer and all of that and new growth for self-love and demand to not keep providing nutrients to that seed and plant of self-hate. Like it doesn't, like you don't deserve it. Like, damn. I obviously, I mean, I'm definitely in a phase of reflection and completion of like look at what all you've done. You've done so many amazing things. And now you get to bask in the fruit of your labor. And so with this basking in the fruit of my labor, I do genuinely from the bottom of my heart and my soul offer you access to my 8-month healing container. I have a meeting um, with Tony, the woman that I've been working with for my sales page, this coming Saturday on the 16th, and it'll be finalized then. So then I should be able to launch it on Monday the 18th or Tuesday the 19th, something like that, pending on when the website transfer fully kicks in. But then doors are open. Doors are open to come inside and to experience for yourself this transformation, because what I've been sharing today has been years and years of work and discovery, and then alchemizing what I've done for myself and what's been channeled through me into a container to shorten the gap, because that took like fucking years. And I've been able to present it in just an 8-month container in less than a year. If you fully commit yourself to the work and you're devoted and you complete it, your life will never be the same. And this is my life's work, to guide people through this journey, through these 8 months, and and guide the way. It's what my it's what my soul came here to do. And now it's the first year that I'm offering it to a group of people, because I've been offering it underground, not really talking about it these past years, and just one person at a time. But it was asking more of me. It was asking me to show up more, take up more space, and hold more people. And here I am answering that call. I'll put the link in the show notes. If this is speaking to you, you can get on the wait list and you'll be the first to know when the sales page drops. If not, that is okay. It's going to be here. It's going to be here every year. So whenever you feel ready, you can just enter, my loves. But truly, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following my journey at whatever stage you popped on to start listening, because I've been doing this for a little while now, but yet I'm also just getting started. Just thank you. And remember, when we see the light in ourselves, we create light in others.